KRON4 is your local election headquarters, and tonight we're hosting a gubernatorial recall debate with some of the top candidates.
Yeah, the debate will be in our KRON4 studios, and joining us to preview what we should expect to see play out tonight is our political analyst, Michael Yaki. Good morning, Michael.
Good morning.
So we are inching ever closer to the actual recall. Tonight's debate will feature three of the top vote getters so far in terms of our polling. John Cox, Kevin Faulconer, Kevin Kiley. What do you expect to hear tonight?
Well, I expect to hear a lot of talking about the empty chair, the one that's not there, Larry Elder. I think that Kevin Faulconer especially has decided that he's got to make a break out of the pack. He's trying to make himself seem the moderate. We'll see how successful it is, given that they're probably going to tweet a lot of photos of him and Trump over the past few years. But it's clear that Faulconer has decided, as a former mayor of San Diego, someone who's been an executive before, that he can try and make him demonstrate to the voters out there that he has the chops to be the replacement for Gavin Newsom should he be recalled. Now, again, they still have to recall him, and he still has to beat Larry Elder, who has like a 20-point lead on him. So this is going to be a tall order for him, but we'll see what he does tonight.
Tall order, but yet the shortest order for you to become governor, because it's amazing that one of these guys, if there's enough votes to recall, could become governor with such a tiny fraction of the electorate.
That's right. It's better than playing the lottery right now. So we'll see. I mean, the fact is that you have 40–50% of the people who are undecided who responded to the polls. But the fact is probably 80–90% of them are Democrats, and I don't know if they're ever going to do anyone. So, as you said, Daria, the magnification of someone who may only have 20%, but that's 20% out of 100. You make that out of 20% out of 50. It's a much bigger thing. So, again, the Democrats have played this card of we're not going to put anyone on the ballot. We're not going to promote that anyone vote for anyone on the ballot. So for the Republicans, it's an open field, which is why they didn't endorse anyone. But now, as Elder has kept his lead amongst the establishment rank and file, you're starting to see others like Kevin Faulconer and even some of the other people on the debate stage are probably going to start questioning whether or not that was a good strategy or not, to not have the GOP endorse one candidate, because now it's just going to be a popularity contest and name recognition. And with such a short time frame left to go and not that much money being put in the race by any of these candidates, it's going to be hard for Faulconer and others to try and catch up to Elder just because of sheer inertia at this point.
What is the strategy then with Elder not appearing and not agreeing to do any debates?
Well, I mean, it's a classic political strategy. I've got a 20-point lead. It hasn't really changed any much. In fact, it's gotten a little bit better, so I'm going to hang out. Now, the only way this could change, and I think what Faulconer and others are hoping, is that Newsom will try and start to define who these other candidates are, especially targeting Elder. He does not want people to think there is a free vote on him. Referendums, recalls are, as I've said before, are like a free shot at someone. But he's going to make it that it's not that. There's no free lunch on this ballot. So the only way to do that is to find who these other people are. Larry Elder's statements about women, about abortion, about Trump. All those things have to come out to at least make people realize, all those people who vote for Joe Biden just a few months ago, that this cast of characters, A, doesn't have what it takes, and B, don't have the best interests of California in mind. And again, he's got to stress that's about California. It's about our economy. It's about COVID. It's about the vaccine, about mandates, about getting back to school. Those are the things that Gavin has to compare and contrast in order to get people to either be motivated enough to vote no on the recall, and also to get people to understand that if they were to vote yes, these are the alternatives that they'd be facing.
Curious, just for your take on this, we heard from Kevin Pathrath, who's that YouTube star who's got a following.
No, meet Kevin.
Meet Kevin, right. Yeah, he's the only Democrat that's, risen in profile as we're getting closer and closer to the recall. Now, he tells our Capitol Bureau reporter that he's talked to people high up in the Democratic Party here in the state who say that they will vote no on the recall, but that they will also vote for him should the recall be successful, just to ensure that a Democrat gets their vote. He thinks there's this sort of momentum under the radar that he'll benefit from. What do you think about that?
Well, I mean, I could make a joke about what he meant by a high Democrat, because I think that it's going to be very difficult for any party leader to take the leap from Gavin Newsom to Kevin Pafford. I just don't see that happening. He's not really a Democrat that sort of fits the mold of what we would think of as Democrats. He's got a YouTube following. He's called the landlords YouTuber. I don't know what it is, but he's, of course, you know, he's there trying to promote himself as the Democrat alternative. It's not going to work. He's not going to get anywhere near that. I think that the campaign is going to be about vote no, and the reason you want to vote no is because this cast of characters who would try and take the job with only 10, 15, 20% of the vote don't have what it takes in the middle of the worst existential crisis that California has faced, whether it's the pandemic, whether it's wildfires. These are things that demand, you know, experience and leadership, and certainly not experience and leadership that wants to go the exact opposite direction that I think the majority of the state has been supportive and will continue to be supportive, so long as, you know, the governor can sort of make that point.
Okay, thanks a lot, Michael. We'll see what happens tonight
We'll see.
with the debate. Tomorrow we'll talk to you again, and then, of course, with the results ultimately of the election. And you can see the Republican candidates go head-to-head in our Inside California Politics debate tonight in the KRON4 studios. That's at 7 p.m. We'll be right back.